very good morning to everyone. So today I'll be doing the analysis of the Hindu dated 1st of November. So I've shared the screen with you. Okay, so let's begin. Fine. Akhauras and Agartala rail link to be inaugurated virtually by the Honorable Prime Minister and Sheikh Hasina today. So, what is the rail link all about? In a historic move, Bangladesh and Northeast India will re-establish rail connectivity through Tripura on Wednesday after a gap of nearly 7.5 decades. The much-awaited Akhaura and Agartala rail link will be inaugurated virtually by the Prime Minister. Um, what else? This rail link is being seen as the first step to connect Tripura to Kolkata through Bangladesh. So, if just a minute. The first thing this rail link project is all about, they are saying that it is to connect Tripura to Kolkata. And in middle, you are going to have what? Bangladesh. Now, at present, trains to Agartala must run through a longer route via Guwahati and Jalpaiguri station. The link will significantly reduce the time and distance needed to reach Tripura. So, because of this project, what is going to happen is the time and the distance will be reduced. To reach Tripura, southern Assam, and Mizoram from Kolkata. It will also help to boost India-Bangladesh trade in agriculture. So another thing is time and distance will be reduced. Then trade between the two countries will flourish. And trade is going to flourish in which agriculture products, tea, sugar, sugar, construction, iron, steel. Then you have consumer items, etc. Fine. So the trade between the both the countries will strengthen in these weeks. Then there is what the cross-border rail link project was supported by a grant aid of 392 crores extended to Bangladesh by the Indian government according to the Ministry of External Affairs. So the rail link is 12.24 kilometers. So this is 12.24 kilometer with 6.7 kilometer dual gauge line in Bangladesh and 5.4 kilometer in Tripura. So this is what? 6 points or approximately 6 kilometers is in Bangladesh. And 5 kilometer is in Tripura. As part of the preparation, a goods train from Bangladesh carried out a trial run on Monday between the two stations. The junction, located in Bangladesh, Brahmania district, is a part of Chittagong division and has a rich history of commercial and cultural ties with India's northeastern region since the colonial era. One of the main drivers behind the initial construction of the junction in the late 19th century was the demand from Assam's steel industry, which wanted a connection to Chittagong port. The project was revived in 2010 when the former Prime Minister signed an agreement to rebuild the connection during the visit of the Bangladesh PM in New Delhi. So, these are some key points with respect to the Akhaura-Agartala railway. Fine. Let's move on to the next article. Okay, social worker from Bastar wins Rohini Nayyar Prize. So, what is this prize about? Just hold on. So, if you see, they are saying that recognizing his efforts to NB Singh left representing the award to Dina Nath Rajput. So, he's the one who has been recognized for social work in the regions of Bastar. So, recognizing his efforts in changing the lives of the tribal women in Chhattisgarh by establishing a farmers producer organization, social worker Dinanath Rajput was awarded the Rohini Nayyar Prize for outstanding contribution to rural development. So, this Rohini Nayyar Prize is given for what? Outstanding development and development in what? Development or contribution in development of your rural area and changing the lives of women, tribal women in Chhattisgarh by establishing a FPO. So the Romini Nair Prize awarded to Dina Nath. Purpose one is work for tribal women by establishing FPOs. And the next one is that Romi Nair Prize is provided for outstanding contribution to rural development. He received a cash prize of rupees 10 lakh, a trophy, and a citation from the chief guest N.K. Singh, chairman of the 15th Finance Commission. Mr. Rajput, 33, set up the FPO in 2018 with an initial membership of 337 tribal women. That means this FPO established in 2018 with membership of 337 tribal women. From Jagdalpur in Bastar district. So these women were from where in the Jagdalpur, Bastar district. Right now, this is the second edition of the Hohini Nayyar Prize instituted in the memory of eponymous economist who passed away in 2021. So this becomes important with this respect. Now, let's move on to the next article. Okay, so ethics, parliamentary conduct, and the Indian MP. Now, this article becomes very important because of respect of GS paper 2, and also because this ethics committee has been targeted for past so many days regarding certain politician. So let's do what the editorial is talking about. Okay, the Lok Sabha Ethics Committee proceedings against the All India Trinamool Congress from West Bengal have resulted in much public debate. So, expulsions, let's see what has been the reason for the expulsions and incidents. It must be clarified at this point that if an MP takes money for putting questions up in Parliament, they will be guilty of breach of privilege and contempt of the House. Such complaints are invariably referred to the Committee of Privileges for investigation. This committee, after a proper investigation, submits its finding in a report along with the recommendation for action against the MP in question. Now, if a case involving illegal gratification for conducting parliamentary work is proven, the MP may even be expelled from the House. There have been such instances in the Lok Sabha where MPs were expelled from the House on this ground. In the first case, what was the case? In 1951, there is H.G. Mughal, an MP of the Provisional Parliament, was found guilty of promoting the interest of a business association in return for financial benefits by putting questions up and moving amendments to a bill which affected the interest of that business association. A special committee of the House found that his conduct was derogatory to the dignity of the House and inconsistent with the standards which Parliament is entitled to expect for its members. But he resigned before he was expelled by the House. In 2005, a sting operation by private channel showed 10 members of the Lok Sabha accepting money for putting questions up in the Parliament. So, if you see, the reason is that money and or you can say some financial benefits are provided, and this is provided why because or by the big businessmen, etc. For what? to put up the questions in the parliament. Now, again, a special committee was appointed which found them guilty of conduct unbecoming of a member and recommended their expulsion, which was accepted by the House. Now, all the MPs were expelled. Thus, complaints of MP accepting money for parliamentary work are referred to the Privileges Committee or Special Committee appointed by the House for that purpose. However, Ms. Moitra's case has been referred to the Ethics Committee, although the allegation is about illegal gratification for doing parliamentary work. So, if you see, the editorial is talking about that the allegation on the respective MP of the parliament is that there has been what? There has been illegal gratification provided. Illegal gratification provided for what? For doing the parliamentary work. Now, the Ethics Committee of the Lok Sabha is a relatively new committee which was set up in 2000 with a mandate to examine every complaint that related to unethical conduct of MPs. So, what is the prime work of the Ethics Committee? Now, the work of the Ethics Committee is what? To examine every complaint. And this every complaint related to what? Related to unethical conduct of MPs. So, unethical conduct of MPs refer to and to recommend action. So, unethical conduct of MPs and to recommend actions against the MP. Fine. Now, what else? It was also tasked with formulating a code of conduct for MPs. So, the work of ethics committee is to what? Formulate a code of conduct. Now, what is unethical is undefined. So, an interesting aspect of this committee is that the unethical conduct has not been defined anywhere. It is left entirely to the committee to examine a particular act of conduct and decide whether it is unethical or not. A couple of cases decided in the past certainly point to the type of conduct which can be called unethical. In one instance, an MP took his close female companion along with him on a parliamentary tour, personating her as his wife. This committee found the MP guilty of unethical conduct, and its recommendation was that he was to be suspended for 30 sittings of the House. He was also barred from taking any companion or his spouse on any official tour till the end of the tenure of that Lok Sabha. Thus, the moral vagaries of MPs definitely come under scrutiny of the Ethics Committee. So, if you see, the author has talked about various incidences where ethics committee has checked on to what the moral vagaries. Fine. Now, but there are also other cases of misconduct which were either examined by the ethics committee or the special committee. For example, an MP misused the car parking label issued by the parliament. The case was referred to the ethics committee, which, after examination of the case, closed it as the MP owned up to his mistake and apologized. In another case, an MP took along a woman and a boy on a foreign tour using the passport of his wife and son. This was treated as a serious case as it involved a violation of the Passports Act. Now, this case was referred to a special inquiry committee which held him guilty of grave misconduct as well as contempt of committee and recommended his expulsion. It must be noted that more serious cases involving serious misconduct are dealt with by either the Committee of Privileges or special committees and not by the Ethics Committee. In case of Ms. Moitra, if the complaint is about her having accepted illegal gratification, then the case becomes a case of breach of privilege and cannot be dealt with the ethics committee. Since the public servant accepting a bribe is a criminal offence, it is normally investigated by the criminal investigative agency of the government. Parliamentary committees do not deal with criminal investigation. They decide on the basis of evidence whether the conduct of the MP is a breach of privilege or contempt of the House and punish them accordingly. But the punishment by the House relate to his functioning in the House. Otherwise, he will be liable to be punished for the criminal offence as in the law. It may be remembered that the 10 MPs who were expelled from the Lok Sabha are still facing trial under the Prevention of Corruption Act. That means the author is trying to tell you the difference between the criminal breaches and the author is trying to tell you about the breach of privilege. And depending upon what is identified, a person shall be liable for the proceedings. A parliamentary probe is not the same as a judicial probe. A judicial body probe as a matter as in the statutes and rules and is conducted by the judicially trained person. So parliamentary committees consist of members of parliament who are not experts. Now, since parliament has the power to scrutinize the executive which is accountable to it, possesses the investigative power also. But the methods followed by the parliament in investigating a matter are different from those of the judiciary. Parliament does not investigate work through its committees which function under the rules of the House. The usual methods are examination of the written document placed before the committee by the complainant and the witness, oral examination of all relevant witnesses, deposition of experts if deemed necessary, sifting of the whole volume of evidence placed before the committee. If the committee examines a complaint against a member of the House, he can appear before it through an advocate and also cross-examine the complaint and other witnesses on permission by the chair. Now, findings are arrived at after the analysis of all the evidence made available to the committee. In the ultimate analysis, the committee takes a view on the basis of common sense. Now, the finding of the committee or of the parliament can be said to be on the basis of preponderance of the probabilities. The rules of evidence under the Evidence Act are not applicable to the prop. Now, what is that? The prop. Just a minute. The question of the relevance of the evidence of a person or a document is finally decided by the speaker only and not according to the Evidence Act. Now, online submission of the questions. The issue of MPs sharing their passwords and login details with another person has come into focus now. In reality, MPs do not have the time to sit down, write out questions, so they are said to be sharing the password with personal assistance, which can be called a practical necessity. Now, moreover, the Lok Sabha does not seem to have framed any rules to regulate online submission of questions. Further, an MP is free to engage any person to do his parliamentary work. He also does not have any obligation to disclose the sources from where he gets information to do his parliamentary work. Article 105 of the Constitution gives them the freedom to say anything in the House. This right should be deemed to be extended to the tapping of any source for information, for putting questions up, or framing bills or resolutions to be placed in Parliament. Therefore, an investigation into the sources of information of an MP may not have legal sanction. Otherwise, Parliament has the power to discipline its members. So, if you see, there are multiple committees that are there, and depending upon what is the conduct of the MP, we assign the role of investigation to them. For example, the ethics committee, they are talking about what the ethics committee talks about examining the complaint related to unethical conduct of MPs to recommend action against MPs. So, apart from this, they also formulate what code of conduct. So, when all this is happening, what you'll find is that the breach of privileges in the parliament, etc. Now, this is dealt by another set of committees, and that is what that is your parliamentary work committee or privilege committee or the special committee, religious committee or special committee. Let's move on to the next article. The next article is stock taking climate finance. A case of circles in Reading. Now, climate finance has a crucial role in retaining the trust of developing countries in future climate change negotiation. The issues related to climate finances are likely to be prominent in the Conference of Parties 28 meeting. What is the context of the report about? So, in the context of climate change 2023 census report, providing the main scientific input to the global stock take at Conference of Parties, the report which says that the current temperature increase at 1.1 degree Celsius is responsible for frequent hazardous weather will feed into global stock take. Thus, the developed countries and climate vulnerable countries are likely to demand a ramping up of mitigation action by the developing countries, which is likely to be countered with the demand that the developed countries have not been able to meet the mark of mobilization of $100 billion climate finance. The sum is inadequate in terms of challenges faced by developing countries in switching over to a low carbon development path. Now, what is the estimate of adequate climate finance? The developed countries are required in mandatory terms to provide financial resources to developing country parties. Under Article 9 of the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, it is also mandatory for the developed countries to provide in their biennial update report information relating to financial resources which they have provided and also the projected levels of public financial resources to be provided to developing country parties. At the Copenhagen Change Conference in 2009, the developed countries made the commitment to mobilize $100 billion per year by 2020. Further, the developed countries are required in accordance with the decision accompanying the Paris Agreement to collectively mobilize $100 billion through 2025. Now, before a new collective defined goal, a floor of $100 billion per year is to be set at the end of 2024. Now, at 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow in 2021, the developed countries noted with deep regret of being able to mobilize only a total of $79 billion. The Paris Agreement is based on self-determined efforts of all the parties inscribed in nationally determined contributions, which contain the mitigation efforts to be made by a party for the next 5 years. Entire nationally determined contributions put together project a picture of overshooting this month, that is 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature goal, going by the needs of the countries in the global south expressed in the nationally determined contributions. The amount quantified for the first time touches close to $6 trillion until 2030. For India, its third UR says, uh, now what is that? Just a minute. Okay. Says that it is the financial needs derived from its nationally determined contributions for adaptation and mitigation purposes for 2015 to 30 are $206 billion and $834 billion respectively. Most of the financial needs are required in transitioning towards low carbon, cleaner energy system from traditional system, which will not be funded by the designated financial mechanism of UNFCCC. Additionally, India has reiterated its demand for a just transition and COP27 as 3.6 billion people in 159 districts in India are entrenched in the fossil fuel economy through direct or indirect jobs related to coal mining and power sector. Now, unclear burden sharing formula. What is that? So, the developed countries are mandatorily required to provide financial resources to developing country parties, but there is no agreed approach among developed countries to share the burden of this goal. One analysis suggests that the US provided just 5% of its fair share in 2020 without any mandatory formula for collecting money. It is difficult to predict how the said money or the NCQG for the climate finance will be mobilized. Neither the UNFCCC nor the Paris Agreement mention the criterion for mobilization. Instead, the mobilization is done with the help of replenishment process. The Global Environmental Facility, that is GEF, a UNFCCC designed funding agency providing grants and concessional loans to developing countries, is replenished every 4 years. A similar approach has been borrowed into the Clean Climate Fund by the developed countries to mobilize finance. The GCF set up to administer a portion of $100 billion for developing a country party to switch over to low emissions and climate resilient development part. Other than that, what? The GCF includes voluntary contributions by 9 developing countries. Now, more contributions in the GCF serve the purpose of counting international public climate finance more easily, as it has been subject of debate as to what counts as international public climate finance. Replicate this action. Strong political will, perceived urgency, and enlightenment self-interest of the elite global north were writ large in case of perceived collapse of global public goods. While G20 governments quickly responded to the global financial crisis, getting $1.1 trillion in few weeks to support the International Monetary Fund and multilateral development banks to save the global financial system. Unfortunately, these factors are missing when it comes to the necessary climate finance transfers from developed to developing countries to safeguard another global common, the atmosphere. So what you see over here is that the climate financing plays a very important role. Why? For the developing countries to have a faith on the developed countries. Why? Because the issue of climate change, that means we have discussed it in Paris Agreement. We have discussed it all like overshooting of the temperature of 1.5 degrees centigrade. So all this need to be checked through NDCs, that is your national determined contributions, etc. So this becomes a very important part to check your climate system. Okay, moving on to the next article. Staff shortage, financial dependency plague local governance. Now, what is happening? An annual survey of Indian cities show that a majority of local governments are financially dependent on their state governments. They also have limited control over who to hire, how to distribute work. The report found that only Assam empowers its city governments. Just a minute. Okay. They also have limited control over who to hire, how to distribute work. The report found that only Assam empowers its city government to collect all key taxes, except five states. That is your except five states: Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, Meghalaya, and Rajasthan. All the others have to get approval from the states before borrowing money. The report Annual Survey of India's City System 2023 was published by the Jangaard Center for Citizenship and Democracy, a non-profit institution. Now you have this table 1. What is the table 1 talking about? Now table 1 says that this asymmetry of power across four city categorizes mega cities having a population of greater than 4 million, large cities having a population of 1 to 4 million, medium cities having a population of zero point 0.5 million to 1 million, small cities having a population of less than zero point 0.5 million. Now it shows that mega cities have more of a say over their finances. The mayors do not have a 5-year tenure and are not directly elected. On the other hand, more mayors in smaller cities have a 5-year tenure and are directly elected but lack a say on the city's finances. The reports the report also shows that the mayor and the council have limited power in staff appointments and promotions. For instance, only a handful of states have empowered their city governments to appoint municipal commissioners. In fact, no city has complete power over its staff. Cities, especially lack control over their senior management teams who are deputed directly by the state government, which makes it tough to initiate disciplinary proceedings against them if needed. The report says because of this, they are not able to build a strong organization or exact accountability. The report also speaks of lack of transparency in publishing cities civic information which citizens can access easily. Only 11 of the 35 states and union territories have enacted the public disclosure law that mandates publishing of the key civic data. So, key civic data is published by what or published under the public disclosure law. Um, if you see the chart number 2, the chart number 2 is saying that as shown in chart 2, one capital city in India publishes its internal audit report and two publish annual report. 11 of them publish their minutes of meeting and 17 make available their decision making process. So more important is financial transparency. where the city has to make available its overall budget for each ward, and financial statement every quarter and also annual. Data show that no city publishes a quarterly financial audited statement as shown in Table 3. Only 28% of them disseminate their annual audited financial statements. The number goes down further to 17% if only the mega cities are considered. While bigger cities do publish their city budgets, smaller cities lag there with just 40 to 65% of them publishing that information. Worryingly, none of the mega, large, medium capital cities publish their internal audit information. So, if you see what is happening is uh, none of the cities are publishing internal audit information. Now, due to poor control over appointment of staff, the local government suffer from high levels of unfilled posts. Data show that 35% of the posts in India's municipal corporations are vacant. The vacancy progressively worsens of 41% posts being vacant among municipalities and 58% being vacant in town panchayats. What else? A comparison with other metropolises such as New York, London, and Johannesburg shows that such a crippling shortage of staff is limited to Indian cities. Now, what is the chart 5 showing you? The chart 5 shows the number of city staff per 1 lakh population. There are this much city workers in New York and 2,900 in London for every 1 lakh population compared to just 317 in Bengaluru, 586 in Hyderabad, 938 in Mumbai. Cities such as New York also being empowered to impose taxes, approve their own budget, invest and borrow without approval. So if you see um, percentage of cities with a 5-year mayoral tenure, so all those who had a 5 years tenure of the mayor, so mega cities are showing it 38%, large cities are showing it 68%, medium cities are showing it 67%, small cities are showing it 84%. Then it says all those percentage of cities who have approved the city budget. Again, if you see, the mega cities are showing 75%, large cities are showing 34%, medium cities are showing 40%, and small cities are showing 11%, and a total of 12%. Now, what percent of cities can invest without the prior sanction of the state? Now, this is 75%, 63%, etc. Uh, Coming to table number 2, or the chart 2, it shows that the availability of civic data in capital cities. So, internal audit report, only one of them showed. Annual audit financial statement, only 9 of them gave the representation or showed them. Decision making, city budget, it's the numbers, minutes of council meeting, 11 of cities have shown them. Data on civic work, 6 of them have shown, and annual reports, 2 have been shown. Now, if I come to table number 3, the table shows the asymmetry of financial transparency in the capital cities of India. Now, what is the figure denoting? That means percentage of capital cities. So, annual audited financial statement, these are close to 17%. Then there are large 50%, medium, then there are 29%, then there are small cities, may showing 23%. Quarterly audited financial statement, this much. City budget, it's 100% in case of mega cities. In case of large cities, it's 100%. In case of medium cities, it's 57%. In case of small cities, it's 38%. Now, internal audit, Mega cities 0%, large cities 0%, medium cities 0%, small cities 0%. Fine. Okay. Now, if you see how cargo transports can be improved by attaching 2 to 3 parcel vans in all popular trains, ensuring their timely movements and tweaking the free freight tariff rules. Sorry, the Indian Railways should be able to load substantial general cargo tonnage in coming years. Now, this is the last of 3 parts series of the Indian articles of Indian Railways, its capital expenditure and freight. In this article, we'll analyze the carriage of a non-bulk and general cargo by Indian Railways. What is the need to give up parcel trains? So, the Indian Railways current strategy for moving general cargo is too prolonged. Why? The parcels are moved either by the passenger train or special heavy parcel van. So, your cargoes are moved either by the passenger train or through a special heavy parcel van. So one is this, one is this. However, these approaches appear to have gone haywire as loading leased parcel vans and full parcel trains fell by 15% and 8% respectively. Now, one of the reasons for the decline in the parcel segment is the high tariff. That means why the decline is coming is because of first reason is heavy tariff. An analysis of 15 origin to destination pair indicates that both premium scale rates and Rajdhani rates, after adding the first and the last mile costs, are higher than the truck rates. So they are talking about the premium and the Rajdhani rates. When added, they exceed the truck's cost. An exception of being cargo moved to destination in the northeast. Other factors are improper terminal, inconsistent weighing bridges intensified by the excess penal charges, unreliable transit times, complex booking and delivery mechanism, and self-imposed environmental restrictions. Now, what else? Now, VPH parcel trains are proving counterproductive and should be given up. A matching covered wagon, that is more technically a covered bogie wagon type with air brake and heavy load, carries 700% more cargo with 45% more volume. Even if we reduce the fee scale rates by half, the revenue generated would be 3.5 times that of the BPH rate. The inadequacy of containerization. Another great hope for the Indian Railway was the expected flip to general cargo movement by private container train operators through containerization. However, after 15 years of privatization, domestic cargo moved by containers in a mere 1% of the Indian Railways loading and 0.3% of the total freight in the country. High haulage rates is one of the reasons of such underperformance. The problem perhaps also lies in the risk involved in developing the market, as it would inevitably involve losses over a period of time. Furthermore, sustaining a developed market is also difficult as predatory pricing by other CTOs can win the market away. The elephant in the room of carriage of a general cargo by the Indian Railway is that a shipper can either only send a few tons under parcel tariff or thousands of tons under freight tariff. General cargo has thousands of buyer and seller, and usually their shipment sizes are a few to hundred of tons. The Indian Railways therefore not their choice as it has no service to meet their needs. Asking these shippers to book a freight train in active or in the mid of to asking a passenger traveling by the Rajdhani Express to come with a load of passenger before a berth is booked. Now, what is the road ahead for the cargo transport? It says that the general cargo is segmented into three categories. What are those? First is your highly time sensitive, then is your medium time sensitive, and low time sensitive. So, high time sensitive cargo is mostly valuable goods or perishables, and they should continue to be moved by the passenger train. Attaching 2 to 3 parcel vans in all popular trains would easily double the parcel loading capacity, and these parcel vans can bring around 5 times the revenue of the sleeper coaches, around 2 times that of AC coaches. That means the highly time sensitive cargoes, they have the capacity of bringing how much of parcels, that is 5 times the revenue of sleeper coach and 2 times that of AC coaches. And when it comes to medium time sensitive categories, so what are they? Uh, Now they are price sensitive, and this cargo should be moved under the Indian Railway freight rates, which are lower than truck rates. Even after the addition of first and the last leg cost, there is a cost benefit to shippers. However, the problem lies in getting a full train load. Shippers should be permitted to book individual wagons with provision to run a train to schedule, even if the train is not fully loaded. The assurance of timely movement would certainly attract shippers to the Indian Railways. Now, running such freight trains does not require any change in policy, only change in mindset. Tweaking of the freight tariff rules would be required by adding freight of any kind or for vegan loads to the tariff rate. Now, how you are going to incentivize it? So, to incentivize the volumetric loading, tariff may also be moderated by increasing charges and slabs as per quantity loaded. Now, this is what the author is recommending. Finally, the Indian Railway need to encourage the cargo aggregator by tweaking the existing freight forwarder policy. In the long run, new kinds of stocks to optimize payload and speed would also be required in the Indian Railway. The rolling stock industries are fully capable to design and deliver. Opportunities were missed in the past, but now with a more concerted effort, the Indian Railway should be able to load substantial general cargo tonnage in the coming years. The author is who? So the author is Sudhanshu Mani. He's a leader of Vande Bharat project and an independent rail consultant. So this article is written by him in collaboration with the other people, that is your M. Ravi Babu, who is a founding member of Ankheda Public Policy Project. So this was how to work out onto the cargo's loading and how to get the revenue generation from there. Further moving to the next one. Okay. Now the abstract over here is the reason for falling fertility level. There is now an over-investment in status seeking and under-investment in reproduction. Fertility levels have dropped drastically across the world in the recent decades. Now, what has happened, particularly in the developed Asian countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Singapore, A common reason cited for falling fertility level is the rise in living cost, which makes it hard for people to afford many children. The truth, however, is that people across the world today enjoy higher living standards than ever before, yet have far fewer children than their ancestors who were much poorer. When social status gets in the way of reproduction in modern settings, what have the people said? That evolutionary mismatch may be the reason behind falling fertility. Evolutionary mismatch is what? Now, this refers to the phenomena wherein traits that worked to the favor of an organism's survival in the past become disadvantaged to the survival chances in modern times. The researchers note that human beings evolved to seek social status because it improved their access to resources, thereby their ability to attract mates to the opposite sex and produce offspring. Such status seeking behavior, while it worked well to improve the survival and reproductive success of people, may be working against them. In ancient hunter gatherer societies, which were egalitarian in nature, gaining status did not require hoarding more resources than others, but rather depended on one's contribution to the group. And since these groups were small in size, family based, fierce competition to seek social status were discouraged. Now, in modern societies, individuals exhibit their social status mainly through the hoarding of more resources. And unlike primitive society in which individuals had to compete against only a small group of people, people today have to compete for higher social status against a much larger pool characterized by extreme wealth disparities. The authors cite the example of East Asian countries today with extremely low fertility levels, where people may ironically enjoy an abundance of resources yet choose to delay or permanently stall reproduction because they want to compete for higher social status. Education, career, wealth are common markers of status in East Asian societies, and people in the societies are found by the researchers to value social status more than those in the West. Now, it should be noted that perceived cost of raising children can rise as people compete for social status based on resources. Now, if you take the case of educating children, even though average education may be sufficient to impart enough skills to children, parents may opt for higher degrees that are unnecessarily simple because these degrees offer better social status to the children. The parent may also prefer expensive schools for kids because they offer social status. This rat race to gain higher social status, the researchers argue, can compromise reproduction. So, one thing that this article has told us about is evolutionary concept. And what is that evolutionary concept? The author has said about evolutionary mismatch. That means rising status has become one of the reasons why the reproductivity or the fertility rate is declining. Okay, fine. Next, these three things were very important. One is this that NMC to launch one patient, one registration platform for unified info on doctors. This could be done. Okay, so there are certain few articles which require study, just a go through. Rest I have covered in detail with you all of them. Okay, this becomes again important a Gaganyaan for the seas inside India's deep ocean mission. So this requires a readout. Um, you can cover this by yourself. Okay. Thank you so much.